Ah, the sea, so calm, so serene. So much for that then. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am of course your host, and I welcome you to a beginner's guide to skeletons. The common skeleton, or bony git, is the most common pest problem faced by the Sea of Thieves. Honestly, no matter where you travel, you will always find these things popping up from the ground like daisies. Some of them even build boats out of string and driftwood and chase us about. But we fight them because they give us goodies, like this, or even this. While on their own, they are about as harmful as a soggy digestive biscuit. Faced with large groups, it can be difficult for new players to strategize and defeat them. That's why I'm doing this guide. There are many types of skeleton available for ruining your day in the Sea of Thieves. There's Bony, Planty, Goldie, Nighty, and Bernie. And then there are their friends, the Skeleton Lords. Equipment. You will need a cutlass, a firearm, a lantern, and a bucket. No, seriously, trust me on this. Starting with the most basic and common of skeleton varieties, the bone skeleton. Commonly found hanging out on tropical islands across the map, the bone skeleton is the least problematic. It's weak, stupid, and will often end up running away. The only problem you're likely to have is if there are at least 5 of them. Like nearly all of the other skeleton types, you can defeat this guy and all of his buddies with either a cutlass or shot. Both are effective, so unless you're aiming for an achievement, you might as well leave the firebombs at home. A quick note for the Devil's Roar, however, is that any skeleton, no matter how big or bad, will be damaged from the geysers popping out of the ground, so if you are doing battle in the area, lure the skellies onto the geysers to save effort and ammunition. A good viable tactic for most skeletons is to lure them into a single line or into a narrow corridor or doorway, and use the sword lunge from the cutlass to deal large amounts of damage and knockback. 2 strikes is usually enough to deal with most skellies, just don't miss and leave yourself open to retaliation. Now, where I use the term quest skeletons, I mean those mainly found in quests given either by Duke or the Order of Souls, and they come in 3 distinct breeds. Gold skellies, night skellies, and plant skellies, and they each have 4 varieties: unarmed, cutlass, pistol, and blunderbuss. The gold skelly is potentially the most annoying skeleton in the Sea of Thieves. This is due to the difficulty one can have when encountering it in the wrong area. Gold skellies are immune to sword strikes and lunges, and shot does little to no damage unless the skellies are weakened first. There are several ways in which you can weaken the gold skelly. The first is to simply lure them into the sea, which there is plenty of in this game, and wait for them to rust. They will be immune to sword moves, but a blunderbuss to the face should resolve the problem. The downside to this is that gold skellies are the slowest in the game, and you can be leading a merry conga line with them into the water for some time. In fact, you could probably make a cup of tea and drink it in the time required. If there's no water nearby, you can always fill up a bucket, see, told you it was useful, and splash it on the skelly to rust it before introducing it to your blunderbuss. But your host, gold doesn't rust, this doesn't make sense. Well spotted, my erudite and yet annoying observer. Gold indeed does not rust, but 2 points for you to consider. 1. You are playing a game that allows you to fire yourself from a cannon and still resemble a human being once you hit whatever you are aiming at, and 2. Shut up. The third and far easiest way to deal with gold skellies is to group them together and then lob a firebomb into the middle of them. They will all catch fire and you can casually roast marshmallows on them whilst maintaining a comfortable walking pace out of range. The second most annoying skeleton you'll find on these quests is the night skeleton. As the name implies, they prefer dark environments with little to no sunlight reaches or moonlit strolls down the beach. When there is no light on the skeleton, they are things pass through them. They are, in short, invincible whilst in this state. They will not even burn, and the light from campfires or the firebombs does not make a difference to this. To weaken these skeletons and make them solid again, you need to either shine a lantern on them, which is kind of like fire anyway, so Lord knows why the firebombs don't work, which can be done by yourself or by a friend who is standing nearby. The other option is just to wait for sunrise. Night skellies are exposed to sunlight, are constantly vulnerable, and no more dangerous than your standard skeleton. Just be careful that the dawn-dusk cycles from the game might leave them in their invincible state for longer than you think, so just wait for the sun to be high enough and then smash away. Plant skellies are the least worrisome of all the skeleton types, just keep them out of water. That's it. The plant skellies can heal rapidly in water, and as long as you keep them away from it you should be fine. They're no more dangerous than any other type of skeleton you'll encounter. Ashen skeletons were introduced in the Cruise of Rage update. The Ashen skeleton itself is just your regular skeleton, heated up until his bones go, that he is ready for night excursions and rave parties. Being more resistant to fire than any other skeleton type, it would be more efficient to use your cutlass or firearm than to chuck firebombs, unless of course you are going for accommodation. Ashen Guardians and Keymasters. Now these are notably armed with either a cutlass, guardian, or a pistol, Keymaster. These skellies are slightly tougher than the normal ones, and will always drop a villainous bounty skull and either a riddle map for an Ashen chest, the Guardian, or an Ashen key, the Keymaster, but regardless, they're still nothing special. Skeleton Lords. The big bosses of the current Sea of Thieves, Skeleton Lords are much tougher and harder than your standard skeleton foe. These fun freaks of necromancy can be encountered in skeleton forts, tall tales, or certain quests handed out by Duke, who I'm not convinced isn't trying to kill us. They are flammable and susceptible to both cutlass and shot. However, they have some super moves, including a shockwave attack, a teleportation move that resembles a slow game of whack-a-mole, and being able to text their mates for help. Upon defeat, Skeleton Lords drop a villainous bounty skull and some orders, usually an X marks the spots map that will lead you to 3 bits of treasure, 2 bits random, 1 bit usually a boom keg. And finally, Boom Skellies. Last but not least is the venerable Boom Keg Skeleton. The first you normally hear of these guys is when the fuse lights behind you and you drop everything in a fit of terror and run. Thankfully, that barrel of powder slows them right down, and if you run far enough away they will eventually put the fuse out. However, be aware that they will still chase you. Now there are 4 ways that you can deal with a Boom Skelly. You can shoot the skeleton out from behind the barrel, or if the ship is close enough, harpoon the barrel out of his hands. Just make sure it isn't lit when you do this, trust me. This way means that you get a free boom keg. The other ways are to just shoot the barrel, taking out the skelly and anything nearby, or to stand there like an absolute lemming and let the skeleton do its job, vainly hoping that other skellies were also taken out with you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please put a like on the video and leave a comment about the content that you would like to see. Then, if you really like the video, why not subscribe and keep up to date with all my bizarre ramblings. Bye for now.